Trinet mempunyai empat pilar, ya, empat pilar di solusinya. Pilar yang pertama adalah infrastruktur, ya. Pilar kedua adalah sistem, yang dimana kalau saat ini yang sekarang lagi ngetop itu adalah bagaimana mengenai cloud native, ya, microservice, dan ini sangat mendukung sekali dengan event kali ini. Bagaimana Parasoft bisa membantu dengan AI dan machine learning untuk mengetes software yang sedang berjalan. Yang nanti saya ceritakan bagaimana ekosistemnya dan bagaimana cloud native yang sekarang menjadi satu tren. Karena salah satu masalah yang terjadi adalah kalau di sistem itu virtualisasi yang tadinya VMware itu dari perpetual license-nya sekarang sudah jadi subscription, yang tadinya socket license menjadi core license, dan ini akan menyebabkan masalah tersendiri, yaitu masalah budgeting, ya. Dan kami di beberapa klien sudah melakukan terobosan untuk memindahkan eh, virtualisasi yang berbasis cloud yang virtualisasi itu sudah pindah ke cloud native design, ya, yang berbasis namanya OpenStack. Ini akan membantu sekali, dan microservice itu adalah bagiannya, dan nanti saya akan ceritakan di belakang. Yang ketiga, tidak kalah pentingnya adalah masalah security. Security di sini bukan security yang zaman sekarang hanya butuh firewall doang, ya, tapi juga ada kebutuhan daripada XDR, ya, ransomware di mana-mana. Dan yang kita bahas hari ini juga kita membahas tentang security, tentang coding, ya, dan bagaimana melakukan otomasinya berdasarkan ML dan AI. Itu juga adalah bagian yang menjadi hal yang penting. Karena sekarang kita banyak istilah, ya. Ada PAM, Privileged Access Management, ada DLP yang sekarang juga menjadi kebutuhan, ya, data leak, karena Indonesia sudah punya data privacy management peraturannya yang tidak boleh leak kemana-mana. Itu juga menjadi hal yang penting. Dan juga untuk masalah identity management, dan itu banyak sekali yang sekarang menjadi satu tren topik. Jadi nanti kalau misalkan Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu tertarik untuk bicarakan tentang Trinet Solusi, kami punya checklistnya, kita akan bisa kirimkan untuk semua teman-teman yang ada di webinar ini dapat bisa melihat dan dapat mendengarkan secara langsung. Di kolom D, ya, kami mempunyai bagian daripada layanan service. Salah satunya adalah Parasoft. Jadi software testing tool dan melakukan compliant terhadap sesuatu framework, dan ini juga merupakan hal yang penting, ya. Dan satu hal yang menjadi menarik sekarang adalah bagaimana kita melakukan vulnerability checking yang berkelanjutan. Nah, ini juga merupakan sesuatu hal yang harus dilakukan oleh satu company, yang tidak bisa setahun sekali atau sudah, meskipun 6 bulan sekalipun sudah tidak cukup. Jadi harus regular, even daily basis kita melakukan checking. Nah, kita akan masuk, saya akan memberikan pandangan mengenai Gartner Leader. Di 2024 ini, bagaimanapun kita tidak bisa terlepas dari namanya satu tren teknologi. Dan tren teknologi yang sekarang ini adalah bagaimana industri itu tidak terlepas dari AI dan machine learning. Ya, bagaimana untuk proteksinya udah ada AI, ya, membangunnya juga menggunakan generate AI, dan mendelivernya juga harus ada machine learning-nya. Jadi automation dari satu produk itu akan banyak melibatkan AI dan machine learning. Dan hari ini topik kita adalah AI dan machine learning. Dan memang trennya udah ada di sana. Sekarang saya akan masuk sedikit mengenai apa yang terjadi di market. Transformasi itu tidak bisa dihindari. Semua bidang, ya, akan go to the digital. What the meaning go to the digital? Artinya platform dibangun adalah aplikasi. Karena layer itu akan layer 7 di aplikasi. Maka tidak bisa dihindari bahwa transformasi ini akan terjadi dan tidak bisa dihentikan. Maka transformasi ini akan berbasis namanya cloud native. Apa itu cloud native? Nanti saya jelaskan di belakang. Salah satu masalah yang terjadi di masyarakat kita adalah kita masih punya namanya monolitik. Banyak aplikasi yang dibangun dengan monolitik. Kalau dulu monolitik itu sesuatu yang biasa. Sekarang sudah tidak bisa lagi, harus agile. Maka mereka perusahaan-perusahaan itu harus memikirkan, membangun namanya microservice. Kalau tes dulu monolitik harus bisa dilakukan orang, kalau udah microservice itu harus menggunakan AI untuk testingnya, ya machine learningnya. Nanti akan dijelaskan oleh Stanley dan timnya, ya dari prinsipal kami untuk menjelaskan bagaimana microservice itu membutuhkan sekali tool seperti Parasoft supaya apa yang dilakukan itu bisa dilakukan dengan tepat, cepat, dan tidak perlu menunggu waktu lama. Karena prosesnya sekarang sudah menjadi DevOps. Ya, kalau kita lihat sedikit pro and con, monolitik itu apa? Saya di IT udah 30 tahun tadi dijelaskannya. Ya, monolitik itu gampang di-deploy, simple, ya, pokoknya simple lah di testingnya. Ya, kalau kita tanya konsnya apa? Nah, ini yang jadi masalah sekarang. Ya, scalability-nya jelek, banyak isu, speed-nya jelek, ya, single task-nya kalau sekali kayak rumah tumbuh, rumah jatuh ya, kayak kalau tangganya di atas jatuh, ya jatuh semua ya. Dan ini banyak sekali yang saling ketergantungan kalau di monolitik dan menyebabkan menjadi kalau semakin besar menjadi slow. Ya, karena kalau dulu orang akses paling mungkin cuma ribuan, sekarang kalau kita udah ngomong super app udah jutaan orang. Ya, ini sudah harus dengan desain yang namanya desain yang menggunakan namanya yang sebetulnya adalah di microservice. Jadi microservice ini adalah harus dengan teknologinya yang udah agile, high availability-nya bagus, continue delivery-nya sangat luar biasa, jalan ini juga lebih simple ya. Kalau ada problem juga gampang di tracking karena dia berbentuk bagian kecil-kecil, program yang bisa dikontrol. Jadi kalau misalkan kita mau mengganti satu modul, tidak perlu melakukan down semua. Seperti super app tuh seperti Gojek gitu ya. Gojek dulu ada namanya GoClean yang sekarang sudah tidak ada, ya tidak perlu Gojeknya jatuh. Ya, dan semua ini akan menjadi ke arahnya ke sana. Con-nya continuous development. Ya, jadi harus ada continuous development. Maka dibutuhkan tool seperti Parasoft. Ini tidak bisa kompleks testingnya menjadi kompleks. Makanya kami memberikan solusi hari ini seminar bagaimana supaya tidak kompleks. Ya, ini yang kita akan lakukan seminar hari ini untuk memberikan edukasi kepada kita semua bagaimana membuat simple ya secara testing yang baik. Nah, kalau kita lihat sekarang design adoption development life cycle-nya sudah beda ya. Dulu membangun ya code plan testing ini terus akan berjalan menjadi satu cycle besar. Ya, operation tidak boleh berhenti dan semuanya harus semi real time dan real time. Ya, maka testing yang dilakukan juga harus semi real time dan real time. Ya, jadi apa yang harus dilakukan tuh harus melakukan continue dan modeling yang dicek harus melakukan continue, didesain continue. Karena balik lagi yang saya tadi cerita, teknologi begitu luar biasa, ya, dan perkembangan testing tool juga mengikuti perkembangan zaman dan sekarang sudah di dalam DevOps. Dan jangan lupa kita lebih banyak membangun aplikasi yang berkelanjutan, maka microservice akan menjadi jawabannya. Dan itu tidak bisa dihindari. Dan DevOps adalah salah satu yang akan menjadi satu pattern yang akan menjadi satu hal yang harus dijalankan di pengembangan aplikasi dimanapun, termasuk di perusahaan-perusahaan yang ada sekarang ini. Ya, apalagi di perbankan ya, itu sudah DevOps semua. Nah, kalau kita ngomong tentang cloud native, kalau kita bicara tentang DevOps cycle dan sebagainya, kita akan bicara mengenai cloud native. Bagaimana itu cloud native? Kalau misalkan sudah, apa keuntungannya microservice? Kalau kita udah microservice, kita udah bisa masuk ke desain cloud native. Maka dengan ekstrim yang bisa melakukan automation, kita bisa dari on-premise ke edge, ke regional, ke sentral, sampai ke cloud. Jadi wherever mau dijalankan, ya mulai dari namanya desain yang namanya bangun di VMware, di OpenStack, di Amazon, di Azure, di Google, even di bare metal, dia akan flight kemanapun juga. Tapi dengan satu syarat, yaitu menggunakan desain yang namanya cloud native. Cloud native adalah bagian daripada microservice. Jadi ini adalah satu journey yang harus dilihat. Jadi microservice ini ya akan menjadi sesuatu yang menjadi satu kekuatan untuk membangun desain yang cloud native. Kalau tidak microservice, tidak mungkin dia bisa melakukan egalisasi daripada desain yang ada. Jadi syarat cloud native itu adalah microservice, aplikasinya juga harus mendukung API, ya, independent development, ya, DevOps harus berkelanjutan yang seperti tadi saya sampaikan, jadi otomasi, ya, daripada ICD tools dan sebagainya, ya. Ini akan mendapatkan quick development dan production yang bagus, ya, continue delivery-nya juga akan terjaga, dan juga desainnya sudah container based. Desain ini akan kita dukung dengan solusi yang namanya melakukan checking daripada code dan secara otomasi yang namanya Parasoft. Ini akan menjawab semua masalah-masalah yang dinamakan dengan tadi. Microservice problem, don't worry. Testing yang kompleks jadi simple, ya. Nah, bagaimana tentang infrastruktur dan trennya? Saya akan masuk ke sini untuk melihat menjadi satu total solusi. Jadi Trinet tidak boleh hanya cerita mengenai apa itu Parasoft-nya, tapi kami akan menceritai satu journey sampai satu gambaran end-to-end solution di mana cloud native itu ada. Desain cloud native arsitektur sekarang sudah masuk di tahap yang kedua, namanya Kubernetes. Ya, jadi ada Docker, ada Kubernetes, nanti ada Edge yang berikutnya. Jadi ini adalah journey. Journey kalau kita lihat ya, Microsoft, Azure, Google, Alibaba, semua sudah desainnya adalah cloud native design. Ya, ini sudah berjalan dan ini akan menjadi tren yang tidak akan stop. Ya, nah terus bagaimana kalau teman-teman masih punya yang monolitik? Teman-teman masih punya yang monolitik dan harus juga masuk ke journey ke depan. Saya memberikan solusi yang sudah proven dan sudah berjalan, yaitu membawa desain yang klasik dengan cloud native menjadi satu. Yang itu dinamakan dengan desain yang melakukan classic and cloud native desain berbarengan. Ya, virtualisasi tetap bisa berjalan, wherever itu menggunakan VMware, yang paling umum menggunakan Nutanix dan sebagainya. Virtualisasi mesin atau hyper-convert infrastructure masih dapat berjalan secara normal. Terus perkembangan yang monolitik yang sudah jadi microservice gimana? Ini sudah menjadi satu tren, ya. Aplikasi misalkan contoh ya, ERP-nya masih monolitik, tapi front end-nya aplikasinya sudah microservice. Dan ini akan terjadi. Nah, desainnya seperti apa? Nah, saya akan masuk sedikit, apa keuntungannya kalau kita mendesain cloud native? Data center-nya jadi udah multi, udah tidak hanya satu data center. Dulu orang ngomong ada DC, ada DRC. Kalau kita udah desain cloud native, kita akan bisa bilang multi DC, multi cluster. Jadi tidak ada satu tempat, ibaratnya hanya satu lokasi, ya. Semuanya aktif-aktif, nggak ada namanya aktif-pasif. Kita bisa bikin satu di on-premise, satu di cloud, itu semua possibility-nya ada. Sepanjang balik lagi ke pasal 1, aplikasinya sudah microservice belum? Sudah cloud native design belum? Nanti ini bahan saya bisa kasih semua untuk Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu yang hadir di sini, untuk bisa mengerti lebih jauh. Ya, nanti kalau kita butuh, kita diskusi lebih panjang. Nah, gimana integrasi stack-nya? Jadi nanti di dalam desain kita, ya, itu virtualisasi mesinnya tetap berjalan, containerisasinya tetap berjalan, ya, dan production daripada pengetesan monolitik dan juga untuk microservice bisa dilakukan dengan satu tools namanya Parasoft untuk aplikasi yang dibangun. It's very good, ya, dan ini kita akan sampai level demo bagaimana ada machine learning, AI dan sebagainya. Nah, saya akan masuk terakhir adalah bagaimana infrastruktur desainnya. Ini adalah satu contoh model, ya, kami mengerti end to end karena kadang-kadang orang ngerti aplikasi doang, tidak mengerti infrastruktur, itu juga akan menjadi masalah. Ya, karena pendekatannya harus beda. Ya, ini kita udah desain namanya span and live. Networking udah totally different. Membangun networking juga ini cuma 2 hop, ya, tidak boleh 3 hop. Kalau dulu kita mengerti kalau di sekolahan, kalau misalkan yang belajar Cisco ya, itu ada core, distribusi akses gitu ya. Ini even Cisco pun sudah merubah desainnya menjadi span and live. Dan kenapa begitu? Karena microservice tadi. Desain microservice itu kecil banyak, maka API dibutuhkan ngomong antar aplikasi, dan akibatnya networkingnya itu harus pendek loopnya, dan ini akan membuat desainnya akan menjadi seperti ini, ya. Dan ini agile, ya. Jadi kalau misalkan mau nambahin span-nya atau lift-nya itu tidak perlu ada downtime. Begitu juga untuk menambah servernya, kita menggunakan konsep namanya agnostic, ya. Kita no-lock hardware, jadi kita bisa menggunakan brand anything untuk bisa mengembangkan seperti ini. Dan security-nya kita bagi dua, ada yang di dalam, ada yang juga udah di cloud, yang dinamakan dengan SASE, Security Secure as a Service Edge. Ini merupakan sesuatu desain yang sekarang menjadi tren. Kami baru dapat award dari salah satu BUMN, ya, dan mereka melihat bahwa firewall yang ada di dalam atau DDoS yang ada di anti DDoS yang ada di network parameter itu tidak cukup lagi, maka harus dibuang juga ke cloud, ya. Karena jangan lupa ya, saya singgung sedikit. Apapun yang terjadi ya, coba cek. Ini ada pertanyaan yang menarik untuk kita semua ngecek ke belakang. Kalau security Anda bagus, di mana DNS Anda? Apakah ada di server Anda? Apakah ada di satu perangkat hardware DNS-nya? Atau ada di cloud? Jawabannya adalah Anda cek sendiri. Karena kalau DNS itu down, alamat rumah itu hilang semua. Nggak ada yang bisa masuk. Ya, itu yang kita lihat. Jadi hopefully itu dari saya, ya. Ini beberapa referensi Trinet, kami punya, ada di kementerian, ada di state owned enterprise, ya, di beberapa BUMN yang kami masuk, di kementerian juga, ada juga di financial industry, dan juga ada di telco, dan juga ada di beberapa BUMN karya yang kami lakukan. Semoga hari ini yang kita diskusikan bisa bermanfaat untuk kita semua. Tidak banyak yang saya bisa katakan, kecuali adalah kita tetap semangat dan kita melakukan kebaikan untuk banyak hal. Karena IT adalah bukan pilihan, tapi adalah keharusan. Terima kasih. Sampai jumpa di pertemuan berikutnya. Salam.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak Chandra Halim terkait sambutannya. Semoga informasi yang disampaikan Pak Chandra bisa memberikan gambaran untuk solusi kebutuhan di Bapak Ibu sekalian ya. Baik, kita akan masuk ke paparan berikutnya dari tim Parasoft. Pembicara pertama akan dari Stanley Yu. Saya akan membacakan biografi singkatnya. Stanley Yu adalah Direktur Regional di Parasoft Asia Tenggara dan telah berkecimpung di industri IT selama lebih dari 20 tahun, memulai karirnya di GA Information Services, mungkin sekarang dikenal sebagai GXS, dan kemudian bergabung dengan Progress Software. Beliau menjabat di Parasoft sebagai Direktur Regional di Singapura sejak tahun 2005. Beliau mengawasi restrukturisasi Parasoft Southeast Asia pada tahun 2014. Beliau telah berpartisipasi dan memberikan presentasi di berbagai acara di Banking Kamboja, Sequard and Dijov, ASEAN Banker, and Interpol World and GovWare. Oke, Stanley, this is your time. Please prepare yourself.
Good morning, selamat pagi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. So clear.
Okay, very good. As you can see, this is a webinar that Parasoft is going to present at. Unfortunately, I cannot speak in Bahasa, so I will speak in English, but if you want, you can turn on captions to see what I speak written in English so that you can follow. If not, you can always approach any of our partners who are working with you from Trinet, and we can check with them in terms of what you want to see later. So without further ado, let me go straight in. Okay, we're talking about leveraging AI and ML or machine language for your compliance in software development and testing. So a little bit about Parasoft. So we have been around for quite some time, for more than 30 over years. We have no debt or VCs, venture capitalists. So it is a private company. We have more than 10,000 customers worldwide. We have 32 patents, and we're highly focused on software quality and testing. Now, software quality and testing may not be something that many people are interested in, but I believe for you all who are here, you would be interested to find out how do you leverage the new technologies to improve the development and testing and compliance for your software. So from development testing to API testing to service virtualization, Parasoft is able to help people to adopt and use and scale our tools to help in the testing for the existing tool chains. And really our mission is to help you achieve software test automation at levels higher than your competitors. This makes it more efficient and more productive so that you can deploy applications faster. If you think about what you are using now in your organizations, do you find that there is a delay in terms of deployment? Do you find that sometimes there's a lot of problems, in the quality of the software? It's not stable, right? Or it's got problems with security. That's the worst thing to happen. And you want to ensure some level of stability. So then you ask yourself, why Parasoft? Do I need Parasoft to do that? Well, because we are very focused on software security, safety, and stability, right? And with more than 10,000 customers worldwide and no debt. So if you think about it, in terms of quality, in terms of stability, in terms of safety, especially if, let's say, a software is being used, how assured are you if I tell you your car is 90% tested? That means you have a 1 in 10 chance of having a problem with your car. Same thing, if I tell you you have a 90%, your aircraft that you're flying in is 90% tested. So certain safety levels need to have a higher level of testing. Same thing with mission critical systems. Whether it's your banking finance application, or whether it is your e-commerce application, is there a potential problem if you use it, especially if it is not properly tested? So you can see there are varying levels of risk involved. And the higher the risk, the more necessitates a need to test. It necessitates the need to test more. So it's not just a conventional manual viewing of a code, but you may need to have a little bit more intense testing of the software itself at the code level before it becomes a problem in the application. So we are focused on critical systems, many in these areas, in automotive, aviation, military and defense, IoT, financial systems, telecommunications, medical, government, railways, and so on. So this is where you find that many customers of ours want to focus because they really need to be able to test very accurate and very comprehensively. And that's where compliance is a pain. It's very painful because you want to make sure that you'll be able to handle all the different areas, from the build to the coding, to the testing, to the release, deployment, threat intelligence, and so on. So you can actually use different areas to validate the compliance, to make sure that it's working, make sure that it's of a certain level before it goes out. And Parasoft is the painkiller. So you may have pain in terms of compliance because, wow, you need more people, you need more time. So, and it costs more to be able to set up everything. So Parasoft can help to reduce that. So we are more like a painkiller. So you can see for coding analysis, for unit testing and code coverage, we have certain tools that can help for Java, for C++, for .test, or for .NET software development. Then we can do functional testing and load testing using our SOA test. And then we also can do service virtualization, which simulates the environment for testing. Okay, and later we'll show you, or rather later, my consultants and my technical manager will show you a little bit more about how you can use Parasoft in a continuous quality analysis of your code as well as of your software. These are some of the notable customers we have with regards to using Parasoft tools worldwide. This is, of course, not all, but just a microcosm of them, a small group of them. So our products are mainly in the software development and in the QA side of things. For those who have or know about software development and software QA, you know that it is currently and mainly a lot of people are using manual processes. So it is very painful, right? And unfortunately, many people focus on the right side, which is when the application is built. Then you start to test the function, test the load or performance of the application. Unfortunately, you may only find about 20% of defects in this area. Okay, so of course, you also have your penetration testing and before it actually is deployed. So maybe you can get about 20% of defects. So we believe that if you are able to find the problems earlier in the code, you can fix it earlier. So this whole idea to be able to look at it is really to find it and fix it earlier in the stage of white. So white box testing is where you can find maybe more about 80% of the defects of coding problems. Because if you find anything in the right side, maybe it's only how you say the result of the problem. So they may not be able to tell you where the problem lies. So unfortunately, we focus a lot of this, but this is necessary as well. So Parasoft is not saying you only do one or the other. We are saying that in order to have a good quality product, the stability as well as the security of a product must be tested properly at both the code as well as the software side. Thus, we want to shift left. We want to shift left for the development team to be able to find and fix the code early. So if you look at the what we do is that we can look at the code pattern, how the flow, what is the metrics of it to find out how complicated the code is, right? We can then do unit testing to identify dynamically when it's running, but not the whole application, a portion of the application to test whether it's working at that level. And then we can parameterize. That means we are not testing just by itself, but more. We are testing it at the code level. So when you're doing a functional test of the functions at the application level, you are testing it without knowing where the code is, right? But if you do it at the code testing, the function or what we call unit testing, then you can find the problem in the part of the code that has that issue. Then we can have what we call code coverage. So if you ask your development team, or if you're a developer yourself, or you're IT, or you're a general manager, or you are looking after the security or looking after the application, you ask yourself, how much lines have actually been tested. And I think many of your team or developers will say they don't know. The number of lines of code is really tough, right? To know how big a code base is requires to be able to monitor and to be able to count the number of lines. But to test the number of lines, I think that's where a lot of people fall short. And if you are interested to find out how to do more coverage, we can talk to Parasoft as well. So what we want to do is really shift left into the development stage to be able to find and fix code early. And we use compliance standards. So if you're using any of these, you may want to be able to say, well, how compliant are we to the standard? Whether it's OWASP for web applications, C++, for applications that are built in maybe IoT devices, MISRA and Octosa for automotive, FDA for Food and Drug Administration if you are working in healthcare, specifically for the US industry, even any security in terms of CWE, and then in the payment card industry, PCI, you have your security standards. Okay, so Parasoft does provide you with such standards to comply to. And of course, in terms of aircraft, you may look at Joint Strike Fighter, which is a requirement for aircraft to be able to pass that. So shifting left is when we try to do it early to test. Keeping right means we still have to continue to test. You cannot run away from the functional test because this is when everything is put together. It's like, you know, your car, you test every part of the car, especially in manufacturing in Japan, when they learn that you need to test each part of the car. And then when you put it together, you have to test it again. So this is exactly what we're trying to do. You're saying shift left to test the parts. But then when you put it together, you want to be able to test everything in one shot. So that's what we do. You don't want to only test the car after it's built, right? Then when you find a problem, wow, there's a lot of pain to rebuild or to change or fix. Same thing with software development. It's very painful if you need to do that. Okay, but we need to do it still to do the functional, to do the creating. We need to use this to test and then simulate the environment so you can test anywhere, anytime. So a little bit of AI, right? This is in 2021 in New York Times. It says AI is here and everywhere. And now in 2024, it's even more prevalent. You hear everybody talk about AI until, you know, I don't know, we're all artificially intelligent. And what is this AI, right? AI or artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence by software-coded heuristics. And then nowadays, this code is prevalent in everything from cloud-based enterprise applications to consumer apps and even embedded firmware. So what are the advantages? Why is everybody so interested in AI, right? The good thing is at detail-oriented jobs, you can do it quickly because everything is stored already. It reduces time for heavy data-heavy tasks, so things that you can extract. Saves labor and increase productivity, right? So here they give you an example of warehouse automation, okay, which during the COVID time, a lot of these automated stuff became a lot faster. And because the AI was able to go to the different warehouse to collect certain things, right? It delivers consistent results. It can improve customer satisfaction through personalization. So sometimes you see a bot there talking to you. You say, hey, no, I'm asking questions. I don't need to work with somebody. An AI virtual agent, right? Which is what I just mentioned. So so it's so great. Are there any disadvantages? Yeah. Right now it's expensive, right? It requires deep technical expertise. There's limited supply of qualified workers to build AI tools. It reflects the biasness of its training data at scale. What it means is that your AI is only as good as the data it is fed. So if I am biased, if I give it certain information then it's only biased and knowledgeable of that information. It has a lack of ability to generalize from one task to another, and it eliminates human jobs, increasing unemployment rates. So that part is something that people tend to be a bit wary of. And some of it, I think you have known, right? In some of your, there's some OpenAI GPT models where, you can automatic story generator, online resume builder, note-taking. So you find that these are things that is very useful for the consumer to be quickly able to do some things. I've written and I've used a chat GPT to write a speech for me. But I found that while it's good, it's not great. That means I can't use it at the same time. I can't use it all the time. I have to take what it gives me and change or modify it a bit. So it's not, I can use it as is. So how for Parasoft, our guide for AI in software testing? Okay, so there are two areas, right, that we look at. We want to be able to use software AI in testing in software development, and how to leverage AI to improve productivity, quality, and security inside our software. Okay, and because this is an overused buzzword, we want to be able to focus only on those things that we can. So remember I said there's a lot of manual testing. So you can see actually this is an inverted pyramid where a lot of manual testing is being done. Automated testing is not as many. API testing even worse. And unit testing very little as well. What we should do is to invert it, right? To make it a proper testing pyramid where you can do your analysis a lot of it very quickly. A lot of unit tests that can be saved and reused. Then API tests and automated unit tests, UI testing before you can actually have a manual test. So a manual test may still be used, but what we're trying to say is fewer. Leveraging on AI and ML. Okay, so how do we do it? So in security and compliance, you can use coding analysis that we can help to identify and find the problems early. In unit testing, we can extend how to use the test cases, how to create the test cases, how to make more in order to have more coverage. For API testing, we have a whole bunch of solutions that will help you with the automation of it and to be able to test each layer of the pyramid. And then how software teams use AI to test, right? We reduce the time to fix coding errors. We reduce time for test maintenance. We increase code coverage so that you can see, oh, which part of the code has been tested and which part of code has not been tested. And then for those that has not tested, we can increase the test cases to find those areas. Because sometimes that's where the problem lies. That it's not been tested, right? And then something happens and it's too late. Adapt to change with self-healing tests. So there are areas that you can do self-healing. Decrease execution time with intelligent test case selection, reducing noise and increasing relevance. There are many tools out there, open source or anything, that sometimes you try it on and you find, wow, there's so many things they're talking about. Unfortunately, many of it is noise. It may not be the correct violation. They may not be reporting the right thing. So you want to reduce that noise and increase actually what is relevant, what is needed. Okay, and then we try to reduce business risk. So we try to reduce business risk in terms of using AI to help increase the testing capability. So what do you need to succeed, right? Just now, Pak Chandradi was showing all the different areas in terms of digital transformation, all the different intricate setups, that you need. The more complicated it is, the more tests you really need, because you are only as good as your weakest link. So in terms of the whole areas whereby you need to focus on, you of course focus on your own. And to do that, to succeed, you really need to have your processes in place. You need to have your policies in place. If there's no policy and no process, people do whatever they want. But you have the policy and process, you can follow them. And then you can try to make sure people comply. And that's why industry level policies and compliance is required. Then you will source for the products that is able to help you with it. And this is what Parasoft has learned, okay, that these 3 Ps are not enough. You need 4 Ps. You need the last one, which is people, right? You don't want AI to take over their jobs. You want AI to help them do the job better. And that's the key. You don't use AI to remove people. You use AI to improve people. And that's what Parasoft wants people to use our tools to do, to help improve the team. Remember I said I can write a speech with it, but it's no use because I can't use it as is. I have to change it. I have to change inflection points. I have to change some of the content for me to be able to put me, Stanley, into that. So if you could forget anything, try to remember that you need these 4 things. And of course, the 5th one is Parasoft. Okay. So we're going to pass the time. I'm going to pass the time to Titi, the MC, and she will be sharing with you some of what my team will be doing. So later they'll be doing a demo to show you how AI is being used in some of our products and to see how it works. Okay, Titi, I pass the time back to you.
Okay, Stanley, thank you for the presentation. Bagi Bapak Ibu yang baru saja bergabung, saya ingatkan kembali untuk mengisi link absensinya yang sudah kami sematkan di room chat. Boleh Bapak Ibu cek dulu ya. Selanjutnya, untuk sesi berikutnya ada speaker dari Lim Yanfei. Pastikan Bapak Ibu menyimak paparan produknya karena di akhir acara kita akan ada quiz dan dengan hadiah yang sangat menarik. Baik, saya akan lanjut ke pembicara kedua, Lim Yanfei. Berikut ini biografi singkatnya. Lim adalah manajer teknis regional untuk Parasoft Asia Tenggara. Sebagai DevOps dengan pengalaman puluhan tahun dalam pengembangan perangkat lunak, dia memahami kebutuhan bisnis modern agar lebih unggul. Lim senang berbagi pengalaman multidisiplin dengan prospek atau user, memberikan strategi dan rekomendasi untuk keunggulan proses. Dia telah berhasil membantu banyak pelanggan di Singapura, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam untuk meningkatkan siklus hidup pengembangan software. So, Yanfei, this is your turn. Please prepare yourself.
Okay, thank you, Titi.
Yeah.
So selamat pagi semua. Minta izin saya membuat presentasi dalam bahasa English. So, nama saya Lim Yunfei. Saya Regional Manager dari Parasoft Southeast Asia. Okay. So, the main topic of today's seminar will be using AI in software testing. Parasoft has many products. So, the product that I'm going to share with you today will be JTest. So, for those of you who haven't heard or used Parasoft JTest before, it is a software tool that aim to help software developers to make the source code to make their work easier. So JTest has many features. The core feature will be performing static analysis, where it will scan the source code and then tells you what area, which file, which line that has problem. It also gives you suggestion on how to improve this area as well. Now, you may say that there are many other tools out there that can probably do the same. What makes JTest so special? So on top of the static analysis feature, we do have unit testing, and our JTest would able to simulate the program executions without actually running the system. Because nowadays we know systems are getting more and more complicated. There are more and more components that is interrelated for a solution to work, and therefore making testing very hard. So let's not make this an excuse for your developer not performing their tests. With tools like JTest, we were able to simulate this execution flow without actually running the systems, and therefore tells you early whenever there's any issue that can be detected and fixed. This is because Parasoft promotes the principle what we call shift left. Try to begin the software testing as early as possible, and Parasoft is also working to provide toolings that helps you enable testing as early as possible. So, and then the other advantages of JTest will be that compared to the market tools, we have very low noisy results, means that our results are more accurate. So feel free to engage with TriNet to arrange for any POC if you want to experience it yourself. So let's continue with my presentations. So now, what does Parasoft JTest has to do with AI? So OpenAI has been a hot topic nowadays. Like everyone is using generative AI to do a lot of things like generating images, writing paragraphs, and so on. So currently, it couldn't cook for you, but I'm sure that it will be able to cook for you in the next few years. And with Parasoft, we always want to improve the product and to make our user benefit more. So here, in the latest editions of JTest, which is 2023.2, we added integration with OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. These integrations allow enhancement to be made in static analysis where, for example, you may use OpenAI to give you more explanation of a particular violation that is spotted by the tools and also generate a coding fix suggestions. So, of course, the code generated has to be verified by the end user. That's why you will still need unit testing. And unit testing is something that we know people should be doing, but most people is not doing due to resources constraint. Therefore, in JTest, we actually comes with useful feature like bulk generations. We were able to scan your current source code and generate test cases for it. So imagine within a single click, you can start from 0% of unit testing coverage up to 60%. Just one click. That's very, very useful for developer then. And with these test cases, it may came with additional challenges just like other test cases sources, but do note that we do have end-to-end support on this. We are able to leverage AI to help you to achieve higher code coverage. The test cases that we generate is just not like a looping. Actually, our tools does understand how your application works. We have all the informations like the execution flow. Therefore, you can point at any lines and then tell our tools to say, generate a test cases to cover this line. So we will reversely calculate all the conditions, all the inputs that's required for you to reach this particular scenario. Generative AI can also help in unit testing. You were able to use OpenAI to make your existing test cases more maintainable. For example, with a more intuitive names, with a more larger set of sample data, because you may start initially when the developer are creating the test cases, they may start with any very simple scenarios. You're able to use OpenAI to change the test cases into a parameterized with sample input data of your conditions. So, and if you have a lot of test cases, then choosing which one to run on code changes can become a problem. Fear not. So we also have a feature, what we call test impact analysis. This allows us to understand that when you change one line of code, we will tell you, let's say, out of 100 test cases that you have, only 10 of them need to be run. And the developers, the users would just need to run these 10 test cases, and then he is going to be assured that there is no regression problem. This saves times and therefore make productivity higher. Lastly, Parasoft not only provide edge tooling like JTest, so all the tools that Parasoft provide can be linked back to their report center. We also have AI capabilities in our report center in terms of project management. So if you have a large project, many developers involved, and then there will be thousands and thousands of violations, and then your project manager is going to say, okay, how are we going to do this? Who should I assign this problem? Because developers may have different knowledge, different skill sets. Who should I assign to fix these problems? So our set reporting portal, known as DTP, have the AI capability. After learning your past history of managing the violations, it will able to make recommendations to you. So you see now, the whole company, from the developer to the tester to even the project manager, would able to benefit from this ecosystem. So I'm going to end the slides and move on to the real demo of what JTest is. So today I have with me a sample developer perspective. So this is an Eclipse, is an IDE that is commonly used by Java developers. So I have a sample project here. So JTest can be installed as a plugin into this IDE. So if you are doing CI/CD, you also be assured that JTest can be run from command line. It does not always need to be tied to an IDE. From the IDE, you can easily toggle what are the analysis to be done. And then out of the box, JTest actually came with a wide set of testing configurations. For example, the popular one that everyone is talking today, OWASP, of course, is there. We have more than that, actually. We have CWEs, we have PCI DSS. So PCI DSS will be useful for financial institutions. CWE and CERT will be useful for people who are doing quality product, like important product for militaries, for government, and so on. So this every scans will use you a lot of results that can be shown in the IDE, or it also can be exported into HTML or PDF report. For example, this is so that non-developer user, for example, the project management, would able to know what is the status, quality status of the given project. You will have severity, the findings graded based on severity, and also you will have the breakdown based on the author, the developer that is involved. So we know this information via integration to the source control. So we will know which developer wrote this line that has problems. Of course, we also have the detail, for example, which file, what are the issues. So on the same thing, in the IDE, you will have the same information here. And if you say that, okay, double-clicking these problems brings me this line, and then I will have many information to assist me to improve the problem that is mentioned. We have documentations that tells you the background of, let's say, why the tools say this is a problem. So most of the time is because we implemented guidelines from industry experts. Like we have all the external links given here, some background studies for the team to know. But if this is not enough, you will able to use AI to integrate and then give you a more in-depth explanations and examples and so on. Okay. So I have it may take some times. So I have the screenshot available here. Let me show the screenshot again to give you an immediate feel how it looks like. So you would have responses from OpenAI like this, like what are the explanation in details and what are the sample coding fixes. So this will allow developers to quickly fix codes that has problem that they don't know. So same thing. So if you have functions that currently you have no test cases returns, we would have a feature in JTest is called what we call unit test assistance. So it allows you to generate test cases easily. So within a single click, you were able to generate test cases, and we do that automatically without requiring internet connection for this unit test assistance. For OpenAI integrations, you may require active connection currently to Azure or OpenAI. So in the subsequent versions, future version, we may open up the integration to private LLM language models, and this will allow a sensitive institution organization that does not likes internet facing to use this feature as well. So creating a test cases, and then we would let it run a bit. So you will have all the skeletons needed for test cases created for you directly, and then you will able to run them. Sorry, my PC is a bit slow, so let's just let it run a bit. So at the end of the execution, you will get what we call a coverage. Okay. And then if you are not satisfied with the default generated unit test, so we also comes with recommendations engines. That is after the executions, we were able to tell you what the tools feel about the current unit test cases. Okay, it may take some time for it to run. Okay, we have created, and then let's run the test cases. So this should be a process that is quite familiar if you are developers, right? Usually it's a cumulative effort that, okay, you have a sample code, you write test cases for it, you try to execute them, make sure everything is okay, and then has a sufficient coverage. Coverage is a metric that we use to determine that if enough testing has been done. Because otherwise, the project manager will always ask the developer, did you test the code? The developer will tell you yes, but how come there are still problems? Then they weren't able to answer. So in JTest, well, after we do the unit testing, we were able to highlight the lines that is currently covered in green. So if you see any red, it means that the file that is currently not covered by your test cases. For example, here, you will not see any green color at all. And for the test cases, you would able to use OpenAI integrations to do various stuff. For example, generate more test cases. Or if you want to say, I want to address certain things, you were able to do any prompt. For example, converting JUnit 4 to JUnit 5, which is a different platform and so on. So by default, we came with a very generic questions that most of the time QA will find useful. For example, changing it to parameterized and so on. So you were able to ask them to recognize the names and so on. So there are actually many features that you can use OpenAI for that you were able to discover it yourself. So I have covered OpenAI integration with JTest in terms of setting analysis and unit testing. Now I'm going to show you briefly how does it integrate on the report center. So in Parasoft DTP, you have a dashboards that show you at a glance what are the problems for given project, given period, and so on. So imagine you have a big project, you have all the thousands of violations going on and off. We have many results that you have not classified. Who to should you assign to, and then should you fix the problems or should you suppress it because it's not an issue. So here we have we have AI integrations. We were able to recommend assignees, which is like, let's say, developers in your company that are able to handle these jobs. So it will process and based on the past history that it learns, it automatically assigns issue to different developers, different category of issues and different amount of issues to different developers. So you can, from time to time, you may retrain the models if you find that the accuracy of this AI is not up to there. So you were able to classify based on your existing training results, especially. So there are many models, training methods that built it, and then you just have to repeat it until you have sufficient data for the AI to function correctly. And then from there onwards, you will be able to assist you to give you a better experience in the whole managing the whole software development life cycles. So I hope this gives you some idea on how Parasoft product is able to help in terms of software testing to you. Okay, I will end my demo here. So if there's any questions, feel free to write them in the Q&A sections that we would able to answer. So I will able to answer while we are having the other demo, or we will have a dedicated session later on after both demo session to address these questions as well. Okay, thank you. So handing back to you, Titi.
Oke, thank you Yanfei for the presentation. Baik, Bapak Ibu, saya lihat di room Q&A ada beberapa pertanyaan yang masuk dan sudah terjawab sebagian. Untuk Bapak Anwar Nugraha, untuk pertanyaannya akan kami jawab pada sesi Q&A ya Pak. Mungkin kita bisa lanjut kembali ke pembicara kita selanjutnya, yaitu ada Wei Junchin atau Ken. Saya akan bacakan biografi singkatnya. Ken sebagai konsultan teknis regional di Parasoft Southeast Asia, memiliki gelar master dalam sistem informasi bisnis dengan pengalaman bertahun-tahun di industri IT yang berspesialisasi dalam DevOps dan tertarik pada automate testing untuk meminimalkan pekerjaan manusia dan memberikan solusi yang lebih efektif. Ken berupaya memanfaatkan pengetahuannya di DevScope untuk membantu bisnis melakukan peningkatan secara signifikan. Oke, sebelum lanjut ke Ken, Bapak Ibu diharapkan menyimak paparan produknya karena di akhir sesi akan ada quiz dan hadiah menarik. Oke, Ken, this is your time.
Okay, thank you, Didi.
Oke.
Let me share my screen. Selamat pagi, everyone. Okay, I hope you are looking at my screen now.
Yes, we can see.
All right, thank you. So, today, my main topic for this section will be Parasoft SWOT test API testing with AI. Okay, does anyone know what API means, right? API means application protocol interface, programming interface, okay, where you can actually perform testing, compare web functional testing. Okay, I will show you more example in this slide before we go into demonstration. Okay, so if you have any question, you can actually write it down in the Q&A so that we can answer it later. Okay. So at first we should actually understand what is web services and what does that mean SOA. Okay, so SOA stands for service oriented architecture. Okay, it means that where you actually split your big application into small services where you can actually start performing your testing. Okay, so for the first we come to functionality, okay, where you can actually do the testing for the request and response message, and then following by where you can actually file the endpoints, and then okay, let me sorry, okay, and also you can actually perform agile, okay, where you can actually set a time frame for your testing, okay, and also you might want to set up an automation in order to perform the testing. So let me introduce you about Parasoft SWOT test. Okay, so what is Parasoft SWOT test? Okay, it basically simplify the complex testing, okay, and also reduce the complexity inherent in testing environment. Okay, what does that mean? It means that where you have a very complex testing where you do not know where to start your testing, where you do not know where you should begin your testing with. Okay, so this is the tool that help you to simplify the entire testing. Okay, so in Parasoft SWOT test where we contain end-to-end functional testing, okay, security testing where you can understand as penetration testing. Okay, we also have loop or performance testing as well as message protocol testing. And today's our main focus will be on functional testing. Okay, in functional testing, we categorize them into two items, which is what we call UI-based application testing. Okay, where we have web testing, and another testing, which is what we call API testing. Okay, where you can provide the service definition file such as Swagger Open API or SOUP API, like for example, wizard file. So our main topic today will be focused on API testing, and I will actually do the demonstration later after the presentation slide. So there are two types of API testing where we have lightweight tools such as Postman, where you can have easy access, okay? And this is open source where you can actually simply create a test case very quickly, okay? But of course, it's actually target for lightweight tool. And of course, we have like, for example, enterprise tool like SOUP UI Pro, okay, where you actually need to pay for it in order to use it. Okay, so these are two types of API testing solution. Okay, and for Parasoft SWOT test feature and capability, and we must have all these feature. Okay, where you are able to have the ease of usage and capability. Okay, also you might want to optimize the workflow where you have a test flow logic, and also the AI powered test creation. And also, it does support the technology such as REST API testing, like GET, POST, header, JSON, and also SOAP API testing, okay, and also database testing. And also, not to forget about performance testing, okay, because in functional testing, you might want to test the functionality as well as the performance. And also Parasoft Sources are able to support the automation where you're able to integrate with your CI/CD, and also you with, for example, Jenkins, and also you want to have a very good management and maintenance to your tests, okay, in order to do or renew or increase your workflow or the test cases. Okay, so choosing the right testing tool, these are the four main elements, okay, where you would like to have a rapid test creation, breadth of technology, then you want to easily accessible to the architecture, okay, also the change of management, okay, but not to forget about the topics today, which is the AI. Okay, so when you're choosing the right tool, okay, which is come along with the AI feature, it will actually speed up the entire testing workflow. In the latest release of Parasoft SWOT Test 2023.2, okay, where we actually already integrate with OpenAI, okay, where you actually simply provide the API key in order to use it, where I will actually show you the demonstration later. So now I will actually switch my screen into the sample example that I'm going to use. Okay. So I believe you are looking at my screen, which is the Parabank, okay, website. Okay, it's actually a website that running on top of API. Okay, okay, this is running in my machine. Okay, it's not open for public. Okay. Of course, for this Parabank, it's actually for testing purpose and also for the demonstration purpose only. Okay, so it acts like a banking website where the user can perform a login with username and password. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, this website is actually built on top of API where you can actually do the testing via API. For example, we have a soup API, and also with the XML file, okay, where you can actually provide such a service definition file in order to do the testing. Okay, it contains all the API. Okay, and also you also might want to do the testing with RESTful API. Okay, which is, for example, Swagger. Okay. Okay, so we come back here, the Parabank, okay, where you can actually perform a list of different feature. For example, you can do account inspection. Okay, you can click into the account and check the account details, like for example, the balance, the transaction details, and so on. And also you can actually make a fund transfer from one account to another account. Okay, so these are the list of features that are available in Parabank. Okay. So let me switch my screen back to into the work IDE, okay, which is SWOT test. Okay, so the screen you are looking now is our SWOT test workspace where we do perform our testing. Okay, so for example, if you want to quickly create a testing, okay, what way you can do is you can quickly add a new test. Okay, for example, a new test, we call it TriNet Simple API testing, okay, for example. And then in here where you can actually select different type of testing. For example, if you want to import with your RESTful API service definition file, this is the option that you can select. And also you can select from the SOAP API and as well as the web testing, which allow you to record the web scenario. Okay, but today we will be focusing on the for example, the service definition file. Okay, let's say I'm selecting the Open API Swagger. Okay, so when we select this one, it asks you to provide the YAM definition file. Okay, so here we have two types of test suite option. One is individual client and another is the test scenario. Okay, we will test for this individual client first. Okay, what does that mean, individual client? It means that you want to test it on your own without creating by the AI. Okay, so once we created it, it will be looking like, okay, the test suite has been created and all the API has been created automatically. Okay, let me open up a bit so that you can look at the API. So by looking at this API, okay, so you can see each of these API has been categorized each individually. Like if you want to get the account, this is the API that you should use. If you want to perform the login, this is the API that you should use. Okay. So in order to create a API testing, okay, we should do like the test scenario. Okay, so what we should do here is, if you want to test them individually, of course you can do that. Okay, like for example, if I want to test the login, okay, I can simply open up the test. Okay, of course, it's actually require you to fill up the parameter in order to do the testing. Okay, so for example, if I test it without the parameter, it will give me a issue. Okay, it will actually report the issue because I do not fill up the parameter. Okay, that's why you can see the test has been highlighted in red. Okay, so when you fill up with parameter, for example, the username and the password, and you save it, and if I run it again, it shouldn't have any issue. So let me run again. Okay. As you can see from the test, okay, where located at my bottom right corner over here, okay, where you can actually see one test has succeeded. Okay, and this is because I have already filled up the parameter here. Then you might ask, how if I fill up the wrong parameter? Of course, it will actually detect it because it's actually based on the database that I actually use. Okay, if I fill up something else, like for example, test the account that does not exist. Okay, if I run it again, then you will see something is reported. Okay, incorrect. Okay, where you can actually see here the stated progress bar, as well as if I navigate to this quality task, then I can locate the TriNet simple API testing. So this is where you can get the error, okay, invalid username or password. Okay, so this is what we call simple API testing, where you can actually create the test based on the service definition YAML file that we provide, and then you can do it individually, or you can actually make a test suite, an empty test suite. Okay, so an empty test suite where I can name it as a fund transfer. So if I make in an empty test suite called fund transfer, so I need some API to be contained in this test suite, right? So I might want to copy some API from the list. For example, I need a login before I perform a fund transfer, right? So this is the standard procedure for the user who want to perform fund transfer, right? So you might want to copy a login API, okay, in order to use it. Okay, then you might want to copy another API, which is called get account, right? Because when you try to get some account before you make a fund transfer, is actually quite normal. Then only you perform a transfer. So this is called what we call test scenario. So you're making like a scenario instead of testing them individually. So now you are actually making a scenario. So let me close all tab, and I will fill up the parameter again. Okay. So for this fund transfer, I need to use the valid login credential. And then for the get account, okay, so for example, I can get some available account to check the account balance. And then lastly, I can make a fund transfer from one account to another account. Okay. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then the amount could be anything, 100, for example. Okay, so when I'm making the test in a scenario base, and if I run it, okay, So you will notice that in the progress bar here, so no longer become 1 out of 1 test. It becomes 3 tests. Okay. So I'm making the test in a scenario, okay, in a workflow where I want to perform the login first, then it will actually get the account, and then it will do the transfer. And then you can actually open up this drop down to check the traffic in and out. Okay. So for example, for this account, get account, I'm sending a request to the server, and then the response back to me, which is the account detail, where I can actually utilize the response data here, okay, in my following test. So this is what we call a scenario-based testing, okay, and this is both for the simple API testing, okay. So if you want to do the recording testing, where I can actually demonstration to you now, okay. So let me share navigate my screen to Parabank again. Okay. So for example, here in Parabank, where if you want to perform a recording for your API, it can be done as well, where we can actually use the tool, what we call Parasoft Smart API tool, okay, where you can actually use this extension available in Google. It's called Parasoft Recorder, okay, where if I turn this on, then I want to do the recording for my API traffic, okay, where I can simply start the recording now. Okay, then it will be in a recording mode now. Okay, then now I can start doing something that I want. For example, I want to navigate to account overview to do some account inspection for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then continue to the inspection for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then I might want to make a fund transfer 100 from one account to another account. Okay, and I click transfer. Okay, so when I've done the transfer, okay, now what I can do here is I can actually turn off the recorder. I can stop the recording, and then it will actually pops up a screen like this. Okay, to ask me whether I want to create my test or I want to discuss my recording. Okay, so for example, if I create my test, we will see a notification from Google where the test has been successfully created. Okay, then now you can navigate back to Swat Test Workspace. Okay, so when I back to the workspace, Swat Test Workspace here, okay, so you can see I have created a new test over here. Okay, it's actually okay. Let me delete this. Okay, so you can notice this file is actually based on the timestamp. Okay, it's actually created localhost in localhost with the date today and the time now. Okay, it's actually in Malaysia time. Okay, that's why it's 10:44. Okay, so we can open up the test, and you can see the action that we performed just now has been converted into API testing. Okay, and it's actually utilize the RESTful API. Okay, you can. Okay, let me close off that because it might be confused to you. Okay, and then you can see the naming has been automatically filled out for me as well. Okay, of course you can use other name if you want. Okay, otherwise you can rename it, and then you can see the method that it used, and then the URL that it navigate to, and then the containing path. So each of these API is based on the recording that we done just now. Okay, then you can actually test run it. Okay, of course you will notice 0 out of 9 tests succeed. It means that all containing error, but no worries, because this error is actually come from the what we call regression testing. Okay. Maybe some of you do not know what it means by regression control. Okay, regression control means that it's something that is already created differently compared to the last execution. Okay, let me show you more details about this. Okay, so when you open up, when I navigate to this quality task, okay, where you can see the arrow has been listed down here, okay, where you can simply open up one of the issue, and then you can see the test one ID could not be resolved. Okay, it could be the problem come from the what we call regression testing. So what we need to do is in order to remove such issue, we can simply delete the regression testing. Okay, so that it won't compare with the last execution, and then you can simply run this individual test. Okay, and then okay, let me remove all from my view, and then I will just run this test. Let me run this test again. It takes a while for me to refresh because the automated server test is still running. And then it could be the error from here where it actually cannot navigate what we call a test ID. Okay, let's run again. Okay, where you can actually have this quality task. Okay, where it contain all this. Okay, so input did not have XPath. Okay, blah blah blah. All this error. Okay, which is come from this traffic. Okay, where you could actually do something for it, which is you can remove it as well. As long as we make this test work. Okay, so you see here is user login required. Okay, it means that because we have so-called the section ID. Okay, so for this test, when we start the recording, it does not contain the login section. As well, this is the reason why it has this user login required. Okay, so let us perform another testing and we will remove this test. Okay, so I will go back to Parabank, the website, the browser. Okay, and then now I will do a logout. So now let's just do a record again. We will start the recording, make sure that it's actually in a recording mode. Then we will perform the username and password. And then we will inspect the account. Okay, and we will inspect another account as well. 54321. And then we will make a fund transfer from one account to another account. Okay. Once I have transferred successfully, I can actually stop the recording and create the test. Okay. Create the test asset. Okay, make sure that it's successfully created. And then now we can navigate back to workspace, the SWOT test workspace. Sorry, I think it's lagging. Okay, so we are in here. Okay. So it's the same test that we have been already created. Okay, so in order to verify that all this test is working, okay, you can, for example, I can choose one to run. Okay, so you see the recording is in right place where it's successfully executed without any error. So same for the rest. Okay, of course you can create this test and then you can test run it individually or you can test run as a scenario based, whichever you like. So this is what we call a smart API testing. Okay, where you can actually do the recording for your each action that you perform, and then you will actually translate the action into API. Okay. So remember at the beginning that I have already introduced you about we have created the test. Okay, let me show you a quick one. Okay, I will create a new one. Okay, so this one we will call TriNet API. testing AI. Okay. So remember just now we have selected this RESTful API, okay, with this Swagger option. And then we actually select the type individual client, okay, for the simple API testing. And for this time, we will select test scenario, okay. The test scenario where we actually uses the OpenAI to help us to generate the testing in a scenario, okay. Let's go to next. And then the same, it will actually show up the test generation for me wherever I want to generate the test scenario. Okay, so for example, from the drop down, as you can see, it has some example prompt like generate some interesting test scenario, also generate a scenario that perform CIUD on customer, or you might want to type on your own. Like for example, I can type login and fund transfer, for example. Okay, so this is my own prompt. So when I type this, I can generate. Okay, it will actually calling the OpenAI API to generate the test scenario. Okay, and then this is what we get. Okay, we have so-called the scenario where we actually create the account, and then if we actually create the account and then withdraw fund, and then create an account and then make a fund transfer. Okay, so if you feel these are the tests that doesn't meet your expectation, what you can do is you can redo the prompt login account and then make a fund transfer, okay, for example, and then you regenerate again. Then it will actually generate a very specific test scenario for you, where it actually contain login, API test, and then a fund transfer test. And if you want to generate more, you can hit this button. Okay, if you are good, you can hit finish. Okay, so when you hit finish, the test has been generated automatically here. Okay, where you can open up the test and you see two of the tests has been generated here. So compared to the previous one, here remember we have to copy one by one into the test suite, okay, which is a lot more work that you have to do. Okay, if let's say you want to generate 100 test scenario, okay, then you might want to keep on copy from the list of API. Okay, this could be very troublesome, but of course based on your own preference, okay, the simple API testing could be works for your own, but for AI, of course, it will work faster. Okay, because it's generate the API for you automatically based on your description. Okay, so what next is when it already generates the API test for you, okay, what you need to do is you just need to fill up the parameter in order to use it. Okay, I think so when I open up the test, I need to fill up the parameter, username and password. And then for the transfer, I need to fill up from which account to which account and how much, what is the amount. Okay, then the next is you can actually execute the test. So this is the comparison between a simple API testing where you can actually have your own test creation for your own scenario, or you might want to do the recording with our Parasoft recorder, okay, where you can actually record all your action when you perform a scenario via the recording, and then it will translate into API for you. And then the last one, which is the using the AI, so that it will generate a test for you. So far, I think if you have any question, you can actually post it in the Q&A and let me know. I will switch back to my slide. Okay. So for if you have any more question, please let me know later. Okay. And that's all from me today. Okay. Thank you. I will pass the time back to Titi.
Okay, thank you, Ken, for the presentation. Baik, Bapak Ibu, selanjutnya akan masuk ke sesi quiz. Ini nanti akan ada quiz dan beberapa pertanyaan terkait Parasoft. Pastikan Bapak Ibu yang tadi menyimak beberapa paparan produk bisa menjawab beberapa pertanyaannya. Maybe for the quiz session, please, Stanley, can you help me to show the screen?
I will launch the quiz right now. So we will need to give the attendees some time to join the quiz.
Yeah, sure.
So, okay, they should be seeing a Mentimeter application pop up. So here we will have a QR code that they can join by scanning their phone.
Thank you. Baik, Bapak Ibu, saat ini sudah terlihat QR pada layar. Boleh dibantu scan untuk mengikuti kuisnya.
Please ask them to use their name that they registered. Otherwise, we won't be able to tell who's who. Titi, can you translate?
Baik, Bapak Ibu bisa mencantumkan nama dan perusahaannya ya, supaya terlihat di screen-nya untuk yang menjawab pertanyaan yang tercepat. Karena akan ada hadiah menarik untuk juara 3, juara kedua, dan satunya dapat voucher belanja.
Okay, so we have 9 people, 10 people in the lobby right now.
Yeah, 9 people has entered the
Yes.
session. Okay.
So the questions, the answers are going to be shown in your phone or PC. Please do select them. You will have 15 seconds to answer each questions. So the faster you answer, the higher the score that you will get.
Oke.
Anyway,
Baik,
don't
Bapak
start yet.
Ibu yang sudah memasukkan namanya, pastikan namanya yang dicantumkan sesuai dan perusahaannya juga. Nanti untuk pemenang pertama akan dilihat dari seberapa cepat menjawab pertanyaannya.
Yeah, wait for a while. For this section, the questions, if you can get the top 3, there will be e-vouchers for the winners for the top 3. So do your best, and hopefully you have been listening to this whole time for the different areas that Parasoft is able to support, and also the demos. And hopefully whoever can get the top 3 prizes will go back happy.
Karena
So
ini adanya
we'll wait
sangat menarik Bapak Ibu. Untuk juara ketiganya akan mendapatkan voucher atau e-money senilai 300.000. Maaf, 200.000, saya revisi. Untuk juara keduanya akan mendapatkan 300.000 e-money atau voucher belanja. Untuk juara pertamanya akan mendapatkan 500.000 e-money atau voucher belanja. Maybe Sandy, can we start for the quiz?
Yeah,
it is
I'm
Infei who's
starting
going
it.
to do it.
Ya, oke.
Infei, you
Pastikan
use
internet di device Bapak Ibu berjalan dengan baik karena ini akan dilihat dari seberapa cepat dan seberapa benar menjawab pertanyaannya.
There are 8 players. What happened?
Yeah, let me know how many people.
There are 8 players, so they were
Players.
10, so 9. So if you want
Wait
to
a bit
wait
more.
for the last to rejoin, then we can go.
Okay. Maybe, okay, 10 players.
Any more?
Yes,
Maybe
we
we
have
can
10
start.
players. Okay, so we are going to start the quiz now. So for question number 1, so there will
Yeah,
be total of 9 questions.
yeah.
The
Karena
score will
saya
be
lihat,
accumulative.
karena saya lihat banyak pertanyaan yang masuk juga. Sepertinya Bapak Ibu cukup menyimak paparan produk yang tadi sudah disampaikan oleh tim Parasoft. Semoga bisa menjawab pertanyaannya lebih cepat kali ini. So, you can start right now.
Okay, so here we go. Question
Yeah.
number 1. Oh,
Okay.
I'm starting by keyword. Okay, so what are the
Baik.
programming languages that JTest
Untuk
supports?
pertanyaan pertama bisa dilihat dari layarnya. What programming language does JTest support? Nah, Bapak Ibu yang menyimak tadi di paparan produk Parasoft bisa dijawab. Kayak ada 3 orang yang menjawab
So
dengan benar.
Yep, there are 3 people who got it right. So JTest supports Java. So JavaScript spelling looks quite similar, but it's not supported. It's a different languages.
Okay.
So we will see that what is the score table right now. So we have
I guess is Pak
Hakim leading the
Hakim.
pack. Yeah.
Pak Hakim dari company mana ya ini? Nggak tercantum.
Hey. So everyone should already be familiar with how the quiz system works. We will proceed with the next questions when people are ready. So we have 7 people here. Okay, 8. Any more coming before we start? Okay, so we are starting. Question number 2. How does JTest help organizations? Providing guidelines to UI, check the party libraries, or ensure source code comply to standards? Okay, most of you got it right.
Wah,
So
luar biasa ini. Gampang banget sepertinya pertanyaannya. 6 orang menjawab dengan benar.
yeah, so JTS helps organization in ensuring the source code comply to international standards. So these standards are well-known international standards, not invented by Parasoft. We are merely providing a tools to enforce it. Let's look at the score tables. Did anyone manage to catch up? Hey,
Oke, kita lihat masih
competition
menempati
is
peringkat pertama,
fierce.
Pak Hakim.
Okay, so Hakim remains leading.
Ya,
So,
Bapak Hakim ini dari
but
Jakling.
okay, let's continue to the third question in terms of JTest. So out of 9 questions, 3 questions will go to JTest, 3 to SOA test, and 3 generic questions. So 9 people already. We have 1 newcomers. Okay, we are going to start now. What are the integrations to OpenAI that JTest has? Providing excuses for bugs, such as coding fix, write and improve unit tests, or solve CAPTCHA.
Wih, luar biasa sekali.
Hey, so most of you got it right again.
Ya, sepertinya banyak yang memperhatikan paparan produk kita hari ini, Stanley.
Yeah. So there are two right correct answers to this. Both suggesting coding fix and write and improve unit test is correct. JTest uses OpenAI to implement both of these features. So JTest does not use OpenAI to provide excuses for bugs or solve CAPTCHA. Okay, we have some variation.
So great dari Pak Oh, Pak Hakim ternyata harus menempati urutan kedua.
Yeah, keep on the good work. So we won't know who is the last winner until last questions because
Last
people are
question.
very close to each other.
10 question, right?
9
Sorry,
questions.
9 question. Okay.
So we are on question number 4. The following questions will be applies to SOA test, which is a presentation from Mr. Ken. So we will start now. Hey, what can SOA test do? API testing, mobile testing, pen testing, or web browser testing? So we have 3, 2, 1. Okay, time's up. Okay, 6 people got it right. So same again, this question actually has 2
people
correct
right.
answers.
Okay.
SOA test can do API testing and also can do web browser testing. So unfortunately, we were not able to directly do penetration testing that requires specific data sets.
Mari kita lihat leaderboardnya siapa yang paling tinggi. Semoga tidak ada perubahan lagi.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Pak Hakim turun lagi pertanyaannya.
Okay, so we really have catch up from Montana.
Okay.
So keep up
So
the good
in
work.
next
If you're leading,
question.
work extra hard if you are not leading yet. So
So the
here
next
we go.
question. Yeah.
Next question for SOA test. Which protocol is supported in SOA test? SOAP, REST, MQTT, or TCP/IP? Okay, time's up. So SOA test support a wide range of protocols, not only the 3 that listed here, SOAP, REST, or MQTT. So we do have support many other protocols, but unfortunately, TCP/IP being the raw protocol is not supported out of the box. Okay, let's look at the latest changes to the scoreboard. Okay, there are some changes, but the top leaders remains the same. So let's see if they can maintain the gaps. Question number 6, which is the last question for SOA test. And we will start now. What is the advantages of SOA test compared to the competitors? Are we able to simulate hardware or automate tests without scripting, or we are free product? Okay, so most of you can read right. Unfortunately, SOA test is not a free product. So the only product that's so-called free from Parasoft is virtualized under the community license that has limited features. So you may visit our website and learn more on virtualize. Okay, most people got it right. So I assume that there won't be much changing to the leading. There are some overtaking for those who are very close to each other. Okay, now questions 7, 8, and 9 will be generic questions. So it will not tie to any product specific, but it will be some concept or methodologies that is mentioned. Let's start it now. What should we look at to improve our testing processes? Automation, manpower, budget, or push it to other? Oh, everyone got it right. So automations is the key. Automation allows us to achieve the same job scope more effectively. Okay, let's see any overtakings happens. Still remains the same. Okay, keep on the good work. Let's see if the leaders make any mistake, then you will have your chance. Okay, question number 8. What is a shift left principle in software testing? Shift left. Shift left and keep right. So these are the very two important principles. Okay, so for attendees got it right. Shift left is meaning begin testing as early as possible. Left here refers to the timing in terms of a project. And the other that I mentioned just now, keep right, means that make sure things are remains right. That's the importance of regression testing. Okay, some overtaking happening. Hakim is coming back. So will he make it? This is the last questions to determine who will be the top number 1. Do note that top 3 will have prizes. Okay. Last questions. What are the providers that Parasoft support in generative AI testing? OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, private LLMs, or Copilot? So we will review the results in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, time's up. Okay, freebie questions. Everyone got it right. So Parasoft do support OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. So for private LLM, it will be in the roadmap to support in future. So everyone got the full score for being correct. So congratulations to Yong San. So you
Pak
are number 1.
Yongsan dari Sadana ya Pak ya? Boleh dibantu di chat room-nya Pak untuk ketikan hadir. Oke, saya sudah melihat Pak Yong-on dari Sadana. Oke, the next winner.
Next winner will be Hakim, right?
Oke, juara kedua oleh Bapak Hakim dari PT Jaklingko, betul ya Pak? Boleh dibantu ketikan hadir Pak di room chatnya?
So I will share the final scoreboard in a separate window so that is clearer.
Oke, saya masih belum melihat Pak Hakim untuk mention di room chat. Oke, the next winner Montana ya. Dengan Bapak Ibu atau sebentar. Bapak Montana mungkin belum isi absensi, Pak. Oke, saya lihat dari from chat sebentar. Oke, sudah hadir semua ya pemenangnya. Selamat sekali lagi untuk Pak Yong mendapatkan voucher atau e-money senilai 500.000 sebagai juara pertama. Dan Pak Hakim mendapatkan voucher e-money 300.000, mohon maaf, sebagai juara kedua. Dan juara ketiga dengan Pak Montana dari Jack Plinko juga mendapatkan voucher e-money senilai 200.000. Selamat sekali lagi ya Pak. Oke, mungkin dari tim kami bisa mencatat pemenangnya supaya bisa dihubungi setelah sesi ini berakhir ya. Thank you Yanfei for the quiz.
No problems.
Oke, baik kita mau masuk ke sesi Q&A karena dari tadi sudah banyak pertanyaan-pertanyaan masuk di room Q&A. Namun tidak lupa saya mau membagikan feedback form. Minta tolong untuk Bapak Ibu isi atau scan dulu di screen QR untuk feedback form supaya bisa mengikuti sesi lucky draw kita di akhir sesi. Oke, untuk Q&A. Yanfei, so far there are two questions from the other customer.
Okay. So let me look at the questions that is unanswered yet.
Dengan Pak Anwar.
Yeah,
Okay,
start with Pak Anwar's one.
Baik. Untuk pertanyaan Pak Anwar, mungkin kita akan jawab di sesi ini. Maybe you can help us to answer the question.
Okay. So
Apakah
Parasoft-
untuk Parasoft bisa memonitoring jika terjadi sesuatu yang tidak diinginkan, misalnya terjadi anomali terhadap aplikasi kita? Maybe your team can help us to answer that.
Okay, so I can answer this in the context of JTest. So JTest runtime monitorings, it will be depending on the application server use. So we do support the popular one like Tomcat, JBoss, and so on. But one thing that I would need to inform is that even though we are performing runtime monitoring, we would not see any alerts whenever there is any application crashing and so on. The reason big, the JTest is designed as a software, as a tools that assist software developments, and the information that we collect while monitoring is targeted towards coverage. Means that what are the features in your application that is being used. For example, you may prepare an applications with 10 features, but until so far, all your users only uses 2 features of the entire systems. So what JTest does, it will collect coverage and then it tells you that, okay, these are the area that is being used. We do not tell you if any application crashes happens. We do not tell you why it crashes and so on. So if you are more towards the later where you want to know what is the request, the timing, and the inputs that involved whenever an application crashes is recorded, this is not fall under the feature provided by JTest. So there are some other monitoring solutions out there that does this. So I hope that this clear up the question from Pak Anwar.
Let me add to that. In terms of monitoring for anomalies, right? There are many ways, right? If you're looking at a application monitoring tool, Parasoft is not. But if you're looking at ability to check if, let's say, someone write the code wrongly, then yes, there is a possibility because we can automatically scan the code that has been checked in. And this is what I mentioned about a process. If the developer don't check, then our tool will check at the end when they check in the code. So you can set it up at nighttime to run so that it can have, you can run it at night. So everybody go home, makan, go for family, go pak tor, go out with friends. And then at nighttime, the tool can scan the code and identify the anomalies or the things that are not compliant. So that can be done. The other thing that we can also do with application monitoring is that if you run the SOA tests in the background, again, like an automated test, you can also find if the development after it has been developed and deployed, whether the application or the web service or the API or the web application itself, are there any problems? We know of a customer last time, what they did was they were to scan the web page to make sure that certain things are there. So every day they would scan it, and in a way it's like monitoring. But there are so many web pages that, you know, you can manually, you can do it, right? You can have one person check if that particular thing is inside that web page. But if you set it to automate to check on each page, there must be the element there. Then it can automatically scan 1,000 pages, 20,000 pages, and so on. Of course, it will be very slow, right? But that one, it can try to identify if that element is inside there. So how you use it for monitoring is also important. It's not that we cannot do, but it's not meant to do it if you're expecting it to automatically sound out a problem in the application. It will sound out if you are asking it to look for certain things. As I mentioned, whether it's compliance in code or compliance to a specific thing that you want to see in the software. I hope that answers the question. Any other questions?
Okay, there are two questions coming in. Atau Pak Anwar mungkin sudah cukup jelas Pak paparan jawaban terkait pertanyaannya. Kalau sudah jelas mungkin kita bisa the next question. Stanley, there are two questions coming in to me. The first question is, does GTest support Android testing?
I'll probably take that because it's a JTest questions. So Android development are mostly done in Android Studio. And for those who may not aware, Android Studio is actually a variant of IntelliJ IDE that Parasoft does support. So in short, JTest does support scanning code in Android in IntelliJ. However, do note that Android codes are slightly different from Java, and currently there is a very limited industry standards for Android Java. So even though the tooling is there, is ready, but there is very limited standards that you can use compared to other normal Java that you can use, for example, OWASP, CWE, PCIDS, and so on. So these industry standards have not designed for Android yet. So the reason that this body gave will be that it is important to secure the backend of your systems. For Android, it will be a challenge because there are so many different devices with different capabilities and different versions. So those standard bodies may feel that if they came up with a strict standards, then there can be many devices that not able to meet the requirement compared to the server that all the sensitive data, all the transaction happens, they will advise to prioritize protecting the backend. So I hope this answered the questions so extensively. So JTest does support IntelliJ or Android Studio, but there isn't enough standard to make use of it.
Okay. Thank you, Ian. So there is a new question on the question prompt. Please, you can check.
Okay.
Dari Pak Andreas.
I see the question. It says, can you explain the best practice to apply this solution? I am not sure which solution, but if you're talking about the total Parasoft solution, the best practice normally would be that you need to have some policies in place first, right? You need policies and the practices. So if let's say you have a software development team and you want them to write code in Java, in .NET, or in C and C++ that Parasoft supports, then what we do is that you need to have that process. So they must have a process to do checking, they must have a process to do development, then they will have to have a process to put in any faulty problems that people find, and then they can fix, right? So you have your process in place. Then you must have your policy, right? What's the compliance policy? What is the threshold? That means, oh, if it doesn't pass this, I cannot deploy. So you must have those policies in place. Now, if you have these two policies in place, then you're choosing the product, how to support your people, right? So when you support your people, you must see, okay, which product helps them to develop better. So this is, remember, this is the shift left side. This is the development side. So in order to help them better, you want to then take those policies, the rules that you want, and then be able to check on it. If you're able to use the product to check the rules, right? So let's say your policy is, I need to use OWASP top 10, right? That's my policy. Before it passes, you must use that. Then if I have that policy, I will then find a product that can support that policy. And I find which product can do it, then it will be able to use it. Now, the last part is most important. I have the product policy and the people and the process. Now I need to make sure the people will do, right? I'm the director for Parasoft Southeast Asia. If Yinfei wants to buy something, I will say why. I don't want to buy something, give it to them, and they all don't use. Yeah. So I want to make sure that they use. So so the people also must want to use it. So they will tell me why to use it. So it's the same thing. And in order for the development team or the managers or the people to use it, it's not just a top down. It has to be a bottom up as well. So the people who do coding, how do you make sure they like it? How do the people like it? If you are asking them to comply and they have to have many hours manually looking at code, and you give them a tool to help them, they will be very happy. Yeah? And the best thing to do is to make sure that the people are trained. You give it to them, they don't know how to use, also no good. So you can see that this type of practices needs people to be involved. So that's why I think people are very important. Sorry, you want to translate or is it okay? Is it okay? The answer?
Is it enough?
No, they can't speak, but they can type in the chat box.
Oke. Baik, mungkin Pak Andreas, apakah cukup menjawab Pak pertanyaan dari Bapak? Let me check to chat room.
Cukup.
Oke, baik. Cukup jelas ya Pak Andreas. Jadi sudah ada gambaran terkait produk Parasoft bag plasticsnya seperti apa. Oke, baik. Stanley and team, there's new question from the other customer. Can Sotest trigger API with different input values each time? So who can answer this question?
Ken, do you want to take these questions?
Wait.
Can you repeat again the question? Sorry. Hello.
Yeah,
I
can you
will
repeat
repeat
the question?
Yes, thank you.
Can Sotest trigger API with different input values each time?
Oh, okay. I can see the question. Okay. So if SWOT test want to trigger API with different input, they can be done. Okay. Which means that the parameter that during the demonstration that I just did is actually called constant variable. Okay. So if you want to trigger different value, okay, this is what we can do. We can use data source in order to store all the value that you want to trigger for the API, so that every time when you run the API, it will trigger different value. So that's how we do for this test. Okay.
Okay. Maybe I think enough. So we can next session. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Stanley, for explaining about the answer. Oke, baik Bapak Ibu. Selanjutnya, untuk Bapak Ibu yang masih menyimak hingga akhir sesi, mungkin dibantu untuk mengisi feedback formnya karena kita akan memasuki sesi terakhir kita, Lucky Draw. Saya lihat karena di sini belum semua isi feedback form. Untuk link feedback form bisa dicek di room chatnya.
Baru silang yang
Baik, mungkin saya akan kasih waktu karena untuk pemenang Lucky Draw lumayan menarik juga. Ada voucher senilai Rp1.000.000 untuk pemenang pertama. Untuk pemenang kedua akan mendapatkan voucher senilai Rp750.000. Dan untuk juara ketiga akan mendapatkan Rp500.000 untuk voucher atau e-money. Baik, kami masih menunggu feedback form dari Bapak Ibu. Baik, tidak lupa juga saya mengingatkan untuk Bapak Ibu yang setia mengikuti webinar kita pagi ini, akan ada sertifikat keikutsertaan yang akan Bapak Ibu dapatkan melalui email. Jadi terima kasih banyak karena sudah bergabung hingga akhir sesi ini. Jangan lupa untuk mengisi feedback formnya Bapak Ibu, karena saya masih lihat masih 70% yang mengisi. Baik, mungkin bisa kita mulai saja lucky draw-nya. Bisa di-show di screen-nya. Minta tolong. Oke, baik. Mari kita lihat untuk juara ketiga siang hari ini siapakah yang akan beruntung. Oke. Wah, selamat untuk Bapak Dani Faisal, Bapak. Apakah Bapak masih hadir di sesi ini? Boleh di chat untuk ketikan hadir. Bapak Dani, apakah masih stay tune di webinar kami? Oke, baik. Terima kasih Pak Dani dari PT Jaya Konstruksi mendapatkan voucher senilai 500.000. Selamat Bapak, nanti akan dikontak oleh tim kami ya Pak. Oke, baik. Untuk pemenang kedua, mari kita undi lagi. Oke, baik. Untuk pemenang kedua dengan Bapak Ardiansyah. Selamat Bapak Ardiansyah, terima kasih sudah setia hingga akhir sesi. Bapak Ardiansyah ini dari PT, boleh dibantu Bapak mention di room chatnya Pak? Baik, Bapak Ardiansyah dari Pandu Logistik ya Pak. Selamat sekali lagi Bapak untuk pemenang kedua mendapatkan voucher senilai 750.000. Selamat sekali lagi ya Pak. Oke, baik, kita mencari pemenang pertama untuk siang hari ini. Boleh di speed lagi, Mas. Oke, baik. Mari kita lihat siapa pemenang yang beruntung siang hari ini. Oke, ternyata ada Pak Anwar Nugraha yang saya lihat dari awal mantengin sekali webinar kali ini. Dan aktif sekali bertanya sepertinya Pak Anwar. Pak Anwar dari PT Kawasima Engineering ya Pak. Mohon dibantu mention hadir Pak di room chatnya Pak. Oke Pak Anwar bisa dibantu. Oke. Baik Pak Anwar bisa dibantu mention Pak di room chatnya jika hadir. Saya masih belum melihat Pak Anwar. Baik Pak Anwar, sekali lagi saya hitung sampai 5. Jika Bapak tidak mengetikkan hadir, akan saya remove dari lucky wheel kali ini ya. Baik Pak Anwar, saya hitung dari 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 ya. Sayang sekali Pak Anwar. Saya harus remove dari sesi ini karena tidak bisa hadir di room chatnya. Oke, baik. Kita cari pemenang yang beruntung lainnya. Jing jing jing, siapakah? Ya, selamat Pak Roy Suryadian, Pak. Bapak dari PT, sebentar. Dari Jaklingko ya, Pak ya. Boleh dibantu, Pak, mention hadir di room chat, Pak. Karena lumayan nih hadiahnya, Bapak. Wah, oke. Terima kasih banyak, Pak Roy. Selamat sekali lagi. Bapak pemenang pertama mendapatkan voucher senilai 1 juta rupiah. Yeay. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Ibu yang sudah mengikuti sampai akhir acara. Sekali lagi untuk sesi ini untuk pemenang sesi ini akan dihubungi oleh tim kami. Baik, untuk sesi akhir siang hari ini mungkin akan saya akhiri. Terima kasih banyak sekali lagi untuk Bapak Ibu yang sudah bergabung dan aktif sekali bertanya pada sesi ini. Jika memang ada permintaan terkait diskusi lebih lanjut, feel free untuk menghubungi kami dari tim Trinet maupun dari tim Parasoft. Semoga webinar kali ini bermanfaat untuk Bapak Ibu sekalian dan menjawab beberapa solusi kebutuhan IT di perusahaan Bapak. Sekali lagi saya mewakili PT Trinet Prima Solusi dan Parasoft Southeast Asia mengucapkan terima kasih dan webinar saya tutup. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih, Pak.